I graduated. Oh, sorry. I graduated from USC in 2015 with a degree in economics and a minor in consumer behavior. And I'm here to tell you a little bit about USC. I think there are 1,000,000,001 reasons to go to USC, but I'll just cover 5 today, and then we'll talk about the application process and if you have any questions for me. Okay, so let's get started. So USC is one of the world's leading private research universities, and I think the best school in the world. Um, it's located in Los Angeles, so we have a very urban population. So that's an undergraduate enrollment of about 20,000 students. We have a very small class size with a really small student to faculty ratio, and we also have a bunch of different schools that have concentrations in different things that you might be interested in. So the top 5 reasons to go to USC are really 1, academic opportunities, 2, the global perspective that you're going to get, 3, living in Los Angeles, you get this amazing experience that you won't get anywhere else. 4, we have a really rich campus life, and the Trojan family is really, really lifelong, worldwide, and really spirited. So first, with the academic opportunities, we have over 150 majors and minors. We also have these things called Renaissance Scholars. So if you have a certain GPA, you can apply for a scholarship if you have very disparate interests, say like neuroscience and dance, something like that. So if it's something that you think nobody is really interested in and like you just want to dive deeper into it, you have a research project that you'd be interested in, USC would be a great place to do that. 2, you have a really great global perspective just because USC is one of the schools with the largest international student population in America. When I was an undergrad, I actually had a friend who spent his entire summer couch surfing from India to Russia to Singapore. And he never paid for a hotel room just because he always had someone in the Trojan family to like stay the night with. And I've hosted a bunch of people also from USC. And then being located in LA, there's a lot of opportunities that you have at USC that you wouldn't get elsewhere. So if you're particularly interested in film or let's say Silicon Beach, so like if you have an interest in tech, all of that stuff, a lot of companies are located in LA, so you have a lot of internship opportunities open to you while you're an undergrad. And also, you have a really rich campus life. Like right before this, a USC alum was just calling me, and then he was like, honestly, I don't know if I can speak tonight because the only thing I remember about USC is that we were always at football games and like it was just school spirit everywhere. So we have the Trojan Marching Band. They're the only student marching band that has a platinum award. So what that means is they've sold over 1 million albums worldwide. Isn't that cool? And we also have a bunch of student organizations. Whatever you're interested in, I'm sure that you'll find a club for it at USC. And then finally, the Trojan family. I can honestly say that the Trojan family for me has been lifelong worldwide. I graduated 6 years ago and I'm still in contact with a bunch of people from the Alumni Association. I'm going back to LA in a bit for homecoming because it's the 100th anniversary of one of the organizations I was involved in. Like, I promise, if you say you're a Trojan, other Trojans just open up to you. And then in terms of our admissions philosophy, USC is very holistic in terms of your scores, in terms of who you are. We're really interested in what makes you you and what you would have to gain from a USC education. So there are no minimums for anything, no minimum SAT, except I think your English proficiency test if you're an international student. But other than that, we have no minimums. Whatever you're interested in, whatever you want to do, like USC is the place to do it. I think in my admissions essay, I like wrote about how I watched Legally Blonde in like 4th grade. And that was when I knew that I wanted to go to USC, because Legally Blonde is actually filmed at USC, and Reese Witherspoon learned how to become a sorority girl at USC. I'm not sure how familiar you guys are already with the application process from like camps. I don't know, camps curriculum. But we use the Common App. We didn't back when I was applying, but it's just a website. You log on, you use the same application to go to apply to any school that you want. So it's really easy. And then the 2 deadlines that we have are December 1st and January 15th. We don't have an early decision or early action program, unlike other schools, but if you are interested in any sort of merit scholarships, you want to get your application in by December 1st. And then if you do get your application in by December 1st, you should hear back about late January for a merit scholarship. You might even be invited on campus. Or I guess with COVID, I'm not sure if you'd be invited on campus, but in a normal year, that's what they do. And then you should find out anywhere from March to May if you're part of the new Trojan family. So the components of the USC application aren't particularly different from any other college you're applying to. So you need your academic records. I went to Pavetta when I was in high school. So we didn't have like 90, 100, A, B, C grades, whatever. So for example, if you have that kind of background, you're going to want to also explain what your grading system means to an American school. So that's in addition to your standardized tests. Like it's a test that everyone takes, the SAT, the APT. I'm not sure what the other undergraduate tests are, but everyone takes those tests, and then you also have your academic records. So if you do come from a school that has different grading systems, that kind of stuff, you do want to contextualize that on your application. If I remember correctly, there are like 3 essay questions and a couple of short answers. We also request a letter of recommendation, your activity summary. So for example, like clubs you're involved in, any philanthropy that you do, that kind of stuff. And then I think that for some schools, like the architecture school, the dance school, the School of Cinematic Arts, you're going to need to give a portfolio or an audition in addition to that. I think the I Have Been Young Academy wants it also. And then for international students in particular, you have the English language proficiency test. I think if you get a minimum score of 600, I think on the verbal part of the SAT, you don't have to do this, but I'm not sure how we've updated that since. And then you're also going to want to submit your financial statement. So it's just a USC form and your bank statement, passport, stuff like that, which just helps to speed up your F1. So that's the visa that you'll be studying under when you go to USC. And then, yeah, if you're interested in learning more about admissions or what USC is like, you can follow the USC admissions office on Instagram. I know that they do like student come with me, like in a day of school, that kind of thing, which would probably help you like crystallize your essays and like show why you want to go to USC in particular. So if you want to apply to USC and hear more about specific resources, that kind of stuff, you can see it on this website. And then if you want to see what campus is like, when I was on campus, I used to give a walking tour of like all of the films that were shot at USC. So that stuff is really interesting because it's a beautiful campus. And then that's it for me. fight on. I also wanted to give you guys the contact of the admission counselor who works specifically for the Philippines. So he reads essays from like everyone in a certain geographic region, but he comes to the Philippines very often to give these kinds of talks. And he will probably know more than me about any admission specific questions. But I'm also happy to take some questions if you have any.
I believe we have one from Stefano Ramirez. Something.
I'm glad you love Legally Blonde too. Let me see. So for your financial statements, I believe it's just a bank statement. And then you fill out a form about how you plan to pay for your USC education. Do we have any other questions? So Henry has a question about the acceptance rate. Back when I was applying, it wasn't actually that hard to get into USC. It has gotten significantly more competitive since 2011, back when I was applying. I don't think that the acceptance rate should be your number one deciding factor when it comes to choosing colleges. Like, it's really important that you remember, sure, the acceptance rate, the prestige is nice, but you really should find a college that works with what you're trying to accomplish in your 4 years. So whether that's you want to be more independent, you want to do some specific type of research, you know, long-term, this is the kind of career that you want. Those, I think, would be the more salient decision factors. We also have a question about what kind of portfolio you need to submit if you apply for the film school. If I remember correctly, you have to submit films you've actually made, so like videos, if you've made a movie, a documentary, some sort of like commercial, that kind of stuff. But you can also find all of that on the USC website, and in particular, if you look at the School of Cinematic Arts website. And then someone is asking, if someone is a US citizen but studies abroad, does he or she count as an international or domestic student? If you're a US citizen, you count as domestic. Someone is also asking if USC offers full ride scholarships. USC is actually really generous with aid. If I remember correctly, I think like somewhere around 60% of students have some sort of aid going into their admission at USC. My partner personally had a half scholarship. So there are full rides offered, but there are also other ways to fund your education. For example, I was a resident assistant when I was at USC, and basically you put on programs for freshmen, for whoever lives in your building, and then you get free room, and then you also get free food. So that was a huge savings for me. Someone was not able to catch the application requirements. So let me flash that here. It's your academic records, so your GPA, your transcripts, what kind of classes have you taken, your standardized tests. So you take the SAT, the ACT, and then they send that directly to the school. And then you have a bunch of essays you have to write, your own letter of recommendation from a teacher or like someone you've worked with in some capacity if you like volunteer or something. And then your activity summary and the optional portfolio. And then let's see. Someone is asking what academic disciplines USC is known for. So I actually just ran a trivia night with the alums last week. So Neil Armstrong actually went to USC, and I know that it has a really strong aerospace engineering program. I'm pretty sure all of the other engineering programs are great too. We also have a very strong film school and a very strong communication school. The Marshall School of Business is also very well known. But I do think a bunch of students, like a big bulk of students, graduate with a degree in humanities, but I'm pretty sure that's fairly standard across all colleges. Someone missed the baseline score for the SAT in order to be counted as proficient. Back in my day, it was 600, but back in my day, we had 3 sections for the SAT. I think if you check the USC website, it should all be there. And then someone is asking if USC offers scholarships. If yes, what are some of those? So as I mentioned before, we offer half scholarships and full scholarships. We also offer study abroad scholarships. So if you want to do like a semester abroad, if you want to do problems without passports, I think the program is called, you can apply for a grant for all of that stuff. If you write an academic paper, you can also submit those to get prize money, that kind of stuff. And then I also worked while I was in school. Let's see. It sounds like USC loves sports. We do. Do they offer club sports / non-varsity sports for students who aren't willing to commit to varsity sports? Absolutely. There's a Quidditch club that like meets maybe like twice a week, I think, on McCarthy Quad. There's also a bunch of other clubs on campus. You can also take a 2-unit class for any sport that you're interested in. And then I know a couple of people who like walked on to sports. Yeah. Let's see. Does being a domestic student have its benefits, or is being an international student better? I am not super sure if being a domestic student has benefits besides the fact that it'll be a little bit easier for you to get in and get out of the country. And then also, if you're an international student, you have to maintain a specific course load for you to keep your visa. But I don't know, I thought it was pretty cool to be an international student. And then, hi, can we have a part-time job while studying in USC? If you're an international student, you can apply for this thing called CPT. So I think it's like 10 months when you can work without your sponsoring company, like getting a visa on your behalf. So this is helpful if you want to do an internship, particularly in the summer, or you can do it also during the fall or spring semester. And then you can also get jobs that you're not paid for in cash. So for example, I worked as a resident assistant and I was not paid in cash, but the university gave me free housing and free food. So yeah. What are the programs that are offered in the university? We have a bunch of them. Off the top of my head, it's almost everything interesting that you see in other schools. We have a communications program, humanities. We have a music school, a dance school. I think we have like 24 new schools right now. I think the most interesting ones, though, are the Iovine and Young Business of Innovation School. So I think there are a bunch of interdisciplinary classes from the business school, from like if you have any interest in tech or like creating robots, that kind of thing. I thought it was pretty cool. Everyone has to like submit, I think, an entrepreneurship plan for the year. Okay. The Common App website here. Basically, if you just search for the Common App on Google and then you apply for you can look at USC specifically, but honestly, if you go to the Common App, like you can just add schools from there. Applying for schools abroad is a little bit different from applying for schools in Manila, where you don't have to take a different test and like submit a different application to every single program. Instead, you can keep all of that information um, in one online portal, and then all the schools that you apply to will be able to see it. It just simplifies things, you know, like if you're writing a bunch of recommendation letters or if you're applying to a bunch of schools. How important is taking extracurriculars in college? Does it have a serious impact on your career? I would say that it helps. A bunch of my friends from USC got their jobs through Trojans who were in clubs that they were in. So sure, people are more likely to talk to you if you're a USC grad, but people are also more likely to talk to you if you have some sort of connection to them. I'm actually going to grad school in a couple of weeks, and I would say that having extracurriculars in college was a really huge deciding factor in like getting merit scholarships, that kind of thing. Okay. Do you have a program to gain your master's degree by adding one additional year to your bachelor's? Yes, they're called progressive degree programs. You can also, if you take AP classes or if you're willing to sit for an additional SAT subject test, that kind of stuff, you can get credits that count towards your degree. So I know a bunch of people who finished in 3 years instead of the original 4. So for them, it made sense just because they already had a job lined up after it. So it was just easier for them to go straight into the workforce. What type of student should I be to apply to USC? I think that is the question. Honestly, everyone at USC is super, super different. I've been to a couple of these talks, and one thing that's always emphasized is if you have an interest in something, like USC is a research university, there's a lot of opportunities for you to do research. If you have an interest in something, I would say that that's the kind of academic student USC is looking for, someone who's really, really interested in their specific niche, particularly if it's something that would qualify you for like the Renaissance Scholar Project, where you have 2 disparate interests and you're interested in coming up with new research around that subject. I do think that people tend to be social. About a fifth of the class was in Greek life. So sororities, fraternities, there are also pre-professional fraternities on campus. So if you're particularly interested in law or business or the film club or the film school, there are organizations for all of that stuff. And I would also say that a USC student is really spirited. Does USC offer pre-medical programs? Yes, we do. Absolutely every single pre-med major that you could think of, we have. Right, the Keck School of Medicine is also really big at USC. Let's see. What mistakes do students usually make in the application process? This is a really good question. When I was applying at USC, I don't think that I personally leveraged my resources and what made me different as well as I could have. So what this means is in terms of dimensionalizing, what does it mean to be a high school student in the Philippines? What does it mean to grow up in a third world country? What does it mean for you to do 2 or 3 clubs? Like what was difficult about that, and how would you translate that into an application? So I recently spent the last year applying to grad schools also, And the best piece of advice that I got, besides be yourself, is get someone from an American background to read through your essays. Because, for example, one of the things I mentioned in one of my essays was Lazada. Here in the Philippines, we know that as our Amazon. In America, they don't. So it's just kind of dimensionalizing stuff like that. And then Jonathan wants everyone to rename themselves.
Yeah, if you could just rename yourself to add the 2 in front of your name, it'll be fine. Yeah, so if everyone can do that real quick, it just takes a second. You just click on your name under participants on the right-hand side. I believe you click more and then rename yourself. And if anyone has any issues, just message me. I can do it for you. Anyways, yeah, continue, Manina.
Great. And then are there any shops nearby that students can work in while studying at USC? This is a question I love. We just renovated the University Village. It was a $700 million project. Now they have a Trader Joe's on campus. They have a Target on campus. Like, studying at USC has just gotten so much more fun and so much more convenient. If you're not interested in Trader Joe's or Target, maybe only old people like that stuff now. There are also a bunch of specialty coffee shops nearby. I remember that people really used to like to hang out off campus. There are also lots of restaurants that people like to go to. Okay.
I'm here the call.
Sorry?
It's Russell. I'm here the call.
Oh.
It's Russell, yeah.
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
So Russ, we're just answering a bunch of questions that people had. By any chance, do you know Micah Christensen, the setter for the USA men's national team? I saw that he went to USC. Is it true his course was human biology? I am not super sure, but I do know that USC has the most Olympians at the current Olympics, and we do have a couple of famous alums who went to the Olympics. Can you describe a usual day for a student studying at USC? Russ, do you want to take this? Or not? I can do it. Usually I would go to class Mondays to Thursdays. I made sure that every Friday I didn't have class. In the mornings, I would go to a lecture. In the afternoons, I would do discussion classes with the TA. So those are smaller sections just to make sure that you're absorbing the material in your bigger classes. And in the afternoon, I was honestly just really involved up until the evening. Sometimes I would be working at events 50 hours a week, but that's definitely not typical of your average USC student. I think that every week in the fall, there's always someone going to a football game. It's that kind of stuff. And then how is the environment / weather in USC? It's beautiful. It's sunny Southern California. The water is clean. The environment is also clean. And yeah, the weather's just really moderate. Why did you choose USC? Russ, do you have an answer for that?
Yeah. So I think USC was like the perfect place for me, right? Because first of all, it's in LA. So that being said, like the weather is perfect, like what Manina said a while ago. And you can do a lot of things there. Like you can do fun like outdoor activities like hiking. Sports is always easy to play because of the weather, right? You can always play basketball or soccer outside. So I got to like try out a lot of new sports because of that, right? And also being in LA exposes you to like lots of like such a great food scene. So, like so many good restaurants in LA, any type of cuisine you'd want. Concerts as well. Lots of artists come and visit all the time. Movie premieres if you're really into that. So really, if you want to like, get integrated into like culture, learn about music, history, movies, sports, watch sports games as well. LA has everything, so on top of that, it's just the school itself, being such a high rank business program and just school in general. I think being in USC allows me to have good education, but also meet a lot of like really well-rounded people from diverse backgrounds. USC being one of the most being one of the schools with the highest international student populations, you really meet a lot of people from like all the different countries around the world, and that helps expose you to their cultures as well, right? And helps you grow as a person. On top of like having great professors in class all the time. Yeah. Where are you seeing the questions, by the way, Munina? Because I am not sure where to check out the questions.
I got them DM'd to me, so
okay. All right.
I've answered a couple of the direct messages that I've gotten, just if they're more specific to the person. But the next question is, if our medium of teaching is English, do we still need to take the English proficiency test? Or is a certificate from the school counselor saying that we are proficient in English enough? I believe that unless you get the minimum score on the SAT to prove English proficiency, you will have to take a test. But apparently there's a Duolingo test now, and it's like $49. It seems pretty straightforward. If I wanted to hang out / party with the boys, is there fun things to do near campus besides Trader Joe's? Russell is younger than me, so what's happening on campus?
Near campus, let's see. So near, I mean, definitely wait until you're of proper drinking age, right? But near campus on Figueroa Street, so just a couple of blocks, walk. There's a bar called the 90. So that's where all the people usually typically drink, like during the weekends or like at night, after class or after football games. Like that's like the home bar of like USC. It's called the 90. But then if you want to venture a bit further out, there's downtown LA, Koreatown, Little Tokyo as well. So there's always like really cool restaurants and bars out there, right? You could grab some food and then walk to like the closest bar nearby, right? So and they're all usually like maybe 20 minutes, 20-minute ride, 15 to 20-minute Uber ride away, I'd say. Yeah. And then there's metro stops as well in Little Tokyo and downtown. So you can ride the metro going there as well.
And I'm not sure if you still have it, but when I was an undergrad, we also had free Uber rides from USC, like anywhere within a 2-mile radius of campus.
Yeah, we had that. Though I'm not sure about now, though. So like 3 years ago when I was still there, because I graduated in 2018. So we still had those free rides. And I'm pretty confident that they should still have that, because it's pretty safe. It's really safe and it's really convenient for the students. Yeah.
And then the last question we have is, hello, what are some sports that USC offers? I want to say every sport under the sun, but people are particularly invested in football, baseball, and all of the water sports, actually. As a student, I think you get like free tickets to all of the baseball games in the spring, right? Something like that.
Yeah, and even basketball, even watching the basketball games are free. I was able to watch a couple for free. And they give out cool giveaways sometimes, just for attending the games. In terms of like you actually participating though, aside from if you're actually part of like the school team, you could take classes, like take like a 1 or 2 unit physical education class, right? I know they even offer golf, right? They hit balls in the football field or like the track and field track. And then there's also clubs specific to it. So I was like, for example, I was part of like the Trojan Golf Club. So it's just like a bunch of people who wanted to like learn how to play golf or like find people to play golf with. So we joined the club, pay a fee. We got discounts in like a local golf course, and then we just go and play there like on the weekends together. We'd even join like inter-school tournaments, you know, like with other schools such as UCLA. And then we just like have a mini competition, you know, just for fun. So that's for golf, but every other sport should have its own like mini like intramurals club as well that you could join. There's frisbee, you know, there's even like Quidditch if you're like into that. So yeah, there's any sport under the sun for sure.
And then that's it for all of the questions that I've gotten so far. If there's anything else you'd like to cover, Jonathan, Russell?
I guess I wasn't so aware of what you've talked about already before, but generally, it's cool to hear that you guys are interested in applying for USC. I think you know, I like honestly like it's like I'd say one of the best experiences that I've had. You know, honestly, just from like not just from an academic experience, but if you're looking to like really grow as a person and experience new things, right? Honestly, it's like a lot of schools out there, maybe they have a really good education program, but you're kind of like put in the middle of nowhere, right? In the middle of like in a provincial town, like a small town. Like, okay, that's cool, but you know, you also want to go to college to grow up, to learn about new things, be more interesting as a person yourself, right? And I think UC really has that perfect balance. Professionally, it's pretty cool. Companies and tech startups are in LA. San Francisco is just pretty close by too. And then like all the other aspects, you know, like sports and the arts. If you're in that, develop that in LA as well. So yeah, if you guys have other questions, like I will be more than happy to answer.
Yeah. Russell, did you take any fun classes that you particularly remember at USC?
I considered having like a film minor, right? Like a film class just for fun. I ended up doing a minor in real estate instead, but the class was called like Intro to Television. So every class, we we'd watch a TV show, right? An episode of a TV series, and then we'd analyze it, and just basically like, go through with like the film techniques that were used. That was really cool. There's also a class called the Film Symposium. So during the class, they premiere movies actually, like before they show up in cinema, and then they also invite like a special guest, sometimes the director, sometimes the actors from the movie, to give a talk afterwards. You know, they're very strict, like can't bring in your cell phones in class, into the class, because you know, like it's a movie that hasn't shown yet, right? So they're super strict about it, but it's super cool because like I've had friends that have like gone to the class, and then they've the directors, the actors were there, so that's awesome. I also took a class on a rock band. So it's called The Grateful Dead, and basically our assignment was listening to an album and then like listening to an album together with your group mate and listening to it, and then just providing like analysis and feedback. So just go like the school classes to like whatever your interests are. We'd have that. Yeah.
Yeah, I really loved Film Symposium also. And then when I was at school, you used to be able to take this 2-unit, which was basically all about exploring Los Angeles. So you would earn school credit for like going down Olvera Street, or like learning about the history of the Philharmonic, of the Los Angeles Philharmonic. You know, like it was really interesting stuff. And it was stuff that I wasn't even, it wasn't even close to my major, which I think leads us to the last question. If you have one takeaway from graduating at USC, what would it be? You want to take it first, Russ, while I Google the questions that are more particular.
Okay. If I had one takeaway from graduating from USC, what would it be? It's really to be well-rounded. To be well-rounded, because that's what going to USC, studying in LA, teaches you, and post-graduation as a student, as a person, you also want to be well-rounded, right? It'll help you achieve more things, be more capable of doing more types of things, right? So it's awesome to be really good at like what you studied, right, in your major. But if you could also be good at socializing, be able to talk about many different topics, with your peers, then that just makes you more well-rounded and just like a better person in general, right? So I'd say it's really to be well-rounded, to be super open-minded, to try new things and meet new people always. Yeah.
That's a really good takeaway. I would say it was the same for my experience. Like when it comes to college, you really get out of it what you put into it. So like, don't be afraid to explore something that's out of your comfort zone. Take the weird class, like join the weird club. And I promise it'll all be worth it.
Yeah, totally agree with what you said. Yeah.
Yay, someone thinks the USC essay prompts are interesting.
Yeah, I remember there's lots of small questions. Like you have to, I believe one of the questions was, what is your favorite movie and why? What music do you like? Or who would be your ideal roommate? And compared with other universities, yeah, USC probably has the most interesting prompts. So for all of you applying there, yeah, I'd suggest look over it and try to encapsulate your personality in those short answer questions.
I think that's another super cool part of USC is that like because it's in LA, there are so many shows filming. Like if you watch How to Get Away with Murder, it was filming when I was on campus. It was actually filmed like at the house of the pre-professional film fraternity.
There was one time too, like I was just walking to class and then like everyone outside of I forgot what hall it was, if it was like BKC or something. They were all dressed up in like 1950s outfits. I felt like I like time traveled or something, but it was because they were filming an episode for a TV show. I was like, oh, where am I? But then I was like, it was so cool. Yeah, they always film stuff on campus. Yeah.
Oh, and the SAG Awards is hosted right across the street from USC. So my first year, my roommate and I just like waited out there to see all of the celebrities come past, and like Alec Baldwin actually said hi to us and signed our stuff.
That was in the Shrine. Was that in the Shrine?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Shrine. Yeah. So they hold a lot of concerts there. Yeah, it's like really literally right across campus. Yeah.
Hello, are there any fairs, fests in relation to film school, like celebs coming over to talk or something? I would say film symposium is the closest you'll get if you're not a film student. Right, Russell?
Yeah, film symposium. That one is, I think, the most the one where you'll meet a lot of potentially meet directors, celebrities. Hold premieres, like premieres too. I remember this week called Nightcrawler by Jake Gyllenhaal, right? Like I remember I watched the premiere and the director was there too. So after the premiere the movie and gave talk. Even really random film classes, like usually the professors are in the film industry, and they know people, so just invite their friends, sometimes famous people, sometimes unknowns, but well respected in the industry, just come and talk in class. So it kind of happens a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, at Film Symposium, I got to watch Monsters, Inc. before it came out. And then two of my roommates were in BK, the pre-professional film frat, and they had to do a bunch of film festivals. Sorry, that's as close as we can get to your question.
The first Monsters, Inc. or Monsters University? Which one did you watch?
Monsters University, the one where they go to college. Oh my God.
It was the first batch.
Well, thank you everyone for coming. It's been a pleasure to have you. I think you're going to be reassigned now. Thanks for the
Yes.
questions. They were all really great.
Yeah, sorry to cut in, but thank you. Everyone, please say thank you to Manina and Russell for answering questions about USC. And I'll now be manually moving all of you to Hong Kong University of Science and Technology for your next rotation. But at the end, past 11, from 11 to 12, you'll be able to basically rejoin whichever group you would like and continue asking questions. So if you have any further questions about USC or any of the next colleges you'll be going to in this college fair, you can always ask more questions later on. So I'll move all of you right now to the next group.